But the evening's damp, chilly air caused Monroe's lingering sinus infection to flare up. And on Monday, June 4th, Marilyn telephoned Weinstein to say she was too ill to work. It was the 17th time the actress called in sick.
I said, look, I'll come and pick you up. We'll have a special car. We'll have the coffee ready. I should have said I'd had the champagne ready, but...
That whole episode irritated Cukor, because he had been very, very, very patient. The studio had been patient.
Well, it's the first time I saw Dean really just got angry. Really, he got very angry. And he started pacing the floor, and George tried to say, calm him down, patience, and so forth and so on. And after a while, he said, okay, that's it. And he walked right off the set. And that was it, right there. And that's when the whole picture stopped.
For Fox, this was the final straw. Marilyn had worked only 13 of 30 production days, and the film was now $1 million over budget. Rumors flew that the actress would soon be replaced. Acting as Marilyn's intermediary, Dr. Greenson met with Fox hoping to stop the company from proceeding with its plan.
He assured them he could do it. And he was a pretty convincing guy. Very, very passionate, real New Yorker.
Dr. Greenson negotiated with Fox's lawyers. And here, in these minutes from one meeting, Greenson conveyed that he would be able to get his patient to go along with any reasonable request. And although he did not want Fox to deem his relationship as a Svengali one, he in fact could persuade her to do anything reasonable that he wanted.
He convinced her that he would be there all the time. I mean, I think what's unusual is for the studio to say, I need like a psychiatric nurse to get her through the picture. Why they would think he would have any more success than anyone else. It was a mistake.
But Greenson's promises didn't stop Marilyn from calling in sick. On June 6th, Fox executives held a meeting to discuss Monroe's future. George Cukor attended and strongly urged them to replace Marilyn.
I ran into him, and he said, well, it just wasn't running too well, was it? Meaning that he just wasn't able to get it together. And certainly wasn't his fault, you know.
That same day, George Cukor went so far as to slip news to gossip columnist Hedda Hopper that Marilyn was being removed from Something's Got to Give, and that her career in Hollywood was over.
He finally just felt so frustrated and had done everything in the world to keep that production going that he was upset. But he absolutely agreed that there was no way to go on. She was not responding to the scenes. Swimming in a pool, playing with kids, that's all fun. But that's not going to make a movie.
On June 8th, 2 days after the meeting, Marilyn Monroe was officially fired.
She was very upset. It's a very emotional thing to have a studio fire you and tell her she'll never work again in this town and her career is finished. I mean, you know, this was a terrible shock, terrible shock.
Nobody else that I know of could have gotten away with as much as she did on this picture. There would have been decisions made long before they were on this.
I think they just said, we've had it. We got Elizabeth Taylor and Rome running that show, and we got Marilyn running this show, and you got the inmates running the asylum.
Fox still hoped to salvage the picture and quickly approached other actresses as possible replacements for Monroe. After Kim Novak and Shirley MacLaine turned down the role, Lee Remick was fitted for Marilyn's costumes. On hearing that Remick would be his new co-star, Dean Martin officially handed in his own resignation.
I said, you know, you better look at Martin's contract, which you guys negotiated. I didn't. And it says, if Marilyn is replaced, he needs approval of the star. Otherwise, he's not going to do the picture. And of course, that's what happened.
Dean insisted no Marilyn, no picture. On June 11th, letters went out to the entire cast and crew, informing them of their suspension.
I was a little stunned that, first of all, everything came to a stop that day when Dean walked away. And I was put on suspension immediately, and everything, the production stopped then.
I mean, they pulled the plug. I mean, that was it. That was the end of the show. They weren't shooting anymore. That was gone. We were laid off.
That day, 104 people lost their jobs. Fingers were pointed at Monroe. Marilyn was humiliated, and she feared that there might be some truth to the rumors that her career was over. Determined to fight back, Monroe pitted her sexuality, power, and fame against the studio with a storm of publicity. Between June 20th and July 15th, Marilyn spoke candidly with high-profile journalists, including Life magazine editor Richard Merriman.
She'd just been fired. There was this huge uproar going on, and I think that's why she wanted to do the article. She jumped at it. A huge Life magazine essay would absolutely confirm that, in essence, she was still alive. She was still Marilyn Monroe.
In early July, Merriman conducted 2 interviews at Marilyn's home in Brentwood.
The house was empty. There was virtually no furniture in it. Pat Newcomb was there, so the 3 of us sat around in the middle of this empty room on these straight-back chairs, and we had the interview. It was about a 3-hour conversation. When I arrived for the next, it's about 2 days later, we had a bottle of champagne, and she drank. And she got high, a little high, and suddenly there was a streak of anger that had not been there before. She was angry at the studio. It was just an undercurrent of anger. I think I was seeing closer to where she really was then, which was a very anxious, angry, scared woman.
As Merriman left that day, Monroe made one last request. She begged the journalist not to make her look like a joke.
I think she finally articulated her deep fear about herself and about this interview. I think she finally said it, don't make me a joke. I think she felt that on some level she was being treated as a joke.
In addition to waging a war of words against the studio, Marilyn continued her personal publicity campaign with pictures. Monroe allowed freelance photographer George Barris unprecedented access to her in a series of revealing photo sessions.
She was in a good mood. Once in a while, she'd stop and maybe think about problems that she's in. And it would bother her, but she snapped out of it very quickly.